to tell you, Lindy,
Yeah.
I really love different ways that beams are built for buildings, and you have a very
Thank you. Yeah. So I live in a log cabin in rural Washington. So I'm up in the attic.
okay. That
It's
is very
which
love that.
used to be unfinished and full of bats, and then now it's finished and beautiful. And isn't it
still
interesting?
has bats. Yeah.
It still has bats, but
Hello and welcome to Text Me Back podcast, the only podcast. I'm Megan Hatcher-Mays.
and I'm Lindy Lauren West.
And normally we would spend the next 45 minutes preparing you for what this podcast is going to be about today, but we have a very special guest and we want to get right into it in a new segment we're calling Jeff, where we check in with all of our nation's Jeffs to see how they're doing. And our inaugural Jeff, our very first Jeff, is a United States Senator from the great state of Oregon. It is Senator Jeff Merkley. Senator Merkley, hello.
Well, hello, Megan. Hello, Lindy, and it's a delight to be with both of you.
Thank you so much for being with us. You're the first senator who's ever been on our podcast before, so this feels very illustrious and exciting, although we did have the Speaker of the House from Oregon come on when we did a live show in Portland, and she was a gem and a delight. So
Awesome.
Big fans of the Oregon politician bench you've got out there. Obviously, everything is pretty bad right now. You know, the government is closed, although you are in DC still doing the people's business, it looks like. The National Guard is being deployed to your state. ICE is doing these raids in Portland and throughout Oregon. You are in the minority party. So, like, what exactly is it that you can do from this position of not having congressional authority over the president and his actions?
Oh, you know, that's a question I get asked at all of my town halls.
Good.
We have 36 counties in Oregon. I go to each of them each year and hold an open forum. And this year, I had 5 times as many people turning out as last year, even though last year was an election year, which is very unusual, because people are rightly panicked about the disintegration of our republic. And so they're coming and saying, come on, Senator, do more. How are you going to stop us from losing this checks and balances and the separation of powers of our Constitution? And, you know, I've explained to folks that all the tools we have in the Senate and how we're using them, and they're not impressed. They're like, no, you have to find a way to do more, which really is what led me to last week. When I took to the floor to speak for 22 hours, and let me add on 37 minutes because it feels relevant. Because I was thinking of what else can I do to ring the alarm bells. Our Constitution's in more trouble now than at any time since the Civil War. People may think we lose democracies because men with guns storm Capitol Hill or storm the government in various countries. That's not what's been happening the last few decades. We've been losing our democracies, and there's a well-established kind of roadmap for this, and I call it the authoritarian playbook. And they do it by eroding the checks and balances of our Constitution. And so like rule number 1, get rid of the referees. So the very first thing Trump did after he's sworn in, he fires the inspector generals. You don't want them reporting, and various other commissions and so forth. And rule number 2 is fill your government with loyalists. They don't have to be experts on defense or intelligence or anything else. Just find somebody who'll do exactly what you want, no matter how wrong it is, how much laws it violates, no matter if it shreds the Constitution. And you can see that this administration, compared to Trump's first administration, people are not saying, "Oh, well, hold on." No, you're not pushing back and say, "I won't do that" or this or no. He's successfully done that. And if you follow this sequence of authoritarian rules or guidebooks, it then goes into things like attack the centers of power, weaken the universities, use the research funds over their head, weaken the press, threaten their mergers or their broadcasting licenses, or Trump suing the Wall Street Journal for $10 billion, find ways to kind of suppress dissent, run over the top of due process. proceed to weaponize the Department of Justice, have an enemies list, go after people, in part because, well, revenge for people having prosecuted Trump in the past, but mostly because by doing so, everyone else is like, I don't want to be too visible, and so I'll hold back.
It's a way of kind of silencing people, even people who aren't caught up in whatever the daily issue is. But also, just really quickly, part of this issue, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but part of this issue is that the Supreme Court has accelerated these crises by basically giving Donald Trump carte blanche to do whatever he wants. Like, yeah, you can sign executive orders that are unconstitutional and you can implement them while they're being litigated in court, knock yourself out, have a good time. The institutions are kind of bending to his will, folding to what he wants.
You're absolutely right about the court. And let's think about Trump versus the United States.
A very apt case name, by the way, I would say.
That was his first administration, and Trump was basically saying, hey, you can't prosecute the president for doing something as a violation of law if it's an act of the government, right? And I'm like, I hear that and I go, well, of course you can be prosecuted. The founders were terrified of having a chief executive who was above the law. Above the Supreme Court, we have equal justice under law, carved into the stone. And so, of course, these originalists, looking back at how terrified the founders were about the executive having authoritarian power, would say, yes, you have to follow the law. And what happened? They said the opposite. And I was just shocked about that. There's numerous other lawsuit cases now that have given the president more power. And in cases where they haven't given him more power, their slow action has often provided more power.
Right.
Like tariffs. There's no law that gives the president the power to do tariffs. So he declares an emergency and says in some vague interpretation of national security or international affairs or deference to a president, he should be able to change the tariffs. Well, hell no. You want to change the tariffs, get a law that says you can change the tariffs. But the courts haven't stopped him. So here are the courts, which are the main check in our system on presidential abuses. Congress also has a check, but it is a very difficult one to execute. And that is for the House to impeach and for the Senate to then convict. And you need a supermajority to convict.
Yeah.
There's no way there'd be even the start of a trial in the Senate with Republican control.
Well, you got two Republicans at the last impeachment, I think, Cassidy and Romney, but Romney's gone.
We had 7 between the two trials, and they're pretty much almost all gone.
Yeah.
Right? Cassidy's still here. The folks who are serving now on the Republican side, they've kind of accepted this social contract of their base hearers from their communications bubble, that Trump's doing exactly what he's elected to do, that he's a champion for mixing things up in a way that needs to be done because things have been moving too slowly. And there is a point here, like the dysfunctionality of Congress has contributed to the desire for a strongman.
Yeah.
We have to make Congress more functional in a fast-changing world. But so here I am as a senator hearing from my citizens saying, do more, and I'm saying, well, we're doing this and this and this, and we're using the maximum time on every single nomination. I had the Senate go 30 hours on Russell Vogt, called him most dangerous man in America because he is the most dangerous man in America. Yeah. He's the mastermind of the chief engineer of the Trump tyranny train.
He helped write Project 2025 when he was at Heritage Foundation, and so
major architect of Project 2025. I've been saying to people, those who study this type of destruction of democracy say you need 2 things. The first thing you need is a real protest in the first year. So people say, yes. So we have to ring the alarm bell. So that's part of what the 7 million march was about. 7 million people turning out to say no kings. And that's incredible. So I just want to thank everybody who turned out, all the creative signs, all the whimsy, all the people just knowing that there's something really wrong. This is not kind of inside the Beltway concerns about some big moment of constitutional law, right? It's like people understanding their country's being dismantled.
There's been a lot of discourse around the No Kings March about people protesting the wrong way, people being too silly, having too much fun. Their signs are too funny. A lot of that was focused around Portland. We had a lot of guys dressed up as frogs. Do you feel like there is a right way and a wrong way to engage, or is it okay to find some kind of joy and levity at these actions?
It's really important to use creativity and joy, because here's the thing, Trump wants riots. Because riots will justify authoritarian power. So when we had his Federal Protective Service assaulting peaceful protesters in Portland, it was horrific. Watching a woman stand there who is talking to two people. They've asked her to move back. She's moved back. She's out of the way. She's conveying to them, she doesn't like that she has to, but she's following instructions. Watching a third person walk up and just do a full spray of pepper spray into her head at no warning. And she's on the ground. She's gasping for breath. And it's like, oh my God, we got these unmarked folks, sometimes face masks, people being shot from the roof with pepper balls. They are trying to provoke a riot. So my message to Portlanders was, don't take the bait. They want riots, don't give it to them. Protest at a distance or protest in creative ways. And I mean, we've had outside the ICE building, we've had a roller disco dance, we've had cha-cha slide, we've had a wedding, we've had the dog squad.
Did you officiate the wedding?
I would have loved to. I wish I had asked. We had the unipiper on his unicycle and his bagpipes.
Amazing.
I mean, we had the women in pajamas handing out pastries. We had the keep your paws off Portland with all the little puppy dogs.
I love that.
I mean, no, this is important because what he wants is to say that there is a rebellion justifying military force.
How does it feel to you as, I know how it feels as a person who lives in this country, but these are your coworkers. And here you're sitting here saying this sentence to us that the president wants riots to justify military violence against civilians in the streets of Portland. I mean, are you having like an existential crisis every day? How do you feel?
Yeah.
It is just like you pinch yourself and go,
yeah.
Is this really going on? Let me tell you, like today, we have the president saying he's going to cut off food stamps,
right.
SNAP, in the month of November. We have a program that created a contingency fund specifically so people would never go hungry in case of a government shutdown. That program has over $5 billion sitting in it. We have an interchange, it's called the interchange program, where the president can use other funds to fund nutrition assistance. And the president comes along and his team posts on the website in September, okay, we have this law, we can do this, we're going to do this, people will not go hungry. And then they pull that down and say the president canceled SNAP. Oh, in my state of Oregon, you've got 200,000 kids on SNAP. The president's saying they can go without food for a month because I want to use harm to children as a negotiating tactic. I'm just stunned. And so, Lindy, I'm stunned time and time again. In the first Trump administration, when I read the Attorney General's speech and it seemed to appear to say that they were planning to separate children from their parents at the border to discourage immigration. And I said to my team out loud, I said, this can't be right. This interpretation can't be right because no American administration, I don't care how red or blue they are, no administration would hurt children in order to discourage immigration. And somebody on my team said, well, there's one way to find out, go down to the border. So that weekend I went down to the border and I became the first member of Congress to see kids being separated from their parents in this warehouse. And I'm just floored. So I was floored then, I'm floored now, I'm floored by every piece of this authoritarian takeover. I'm stunned by how slowly the courts are responding. I'm excited at how the people are responding.
Yeah.
But you need that response, and then you need the next election. And this brings me to the biggest factor in the authoritarian playbook, which is... Will
there be a next election?
That's it. Rig the next election. Either cancel it or rig it. And you see the president's doing all these things, right? He is proceeding to try to do a national voter registration database. He's demanding the database, including Social Security numbers from across the country. The Secretary of States from various states are fighting him, and they're filing suit, and they're not providing them. But the fact that they're trying to do it is dangerous. They want to be able to purge that list and thereby influence the next election. And the gerrymandering.
Yes.
Gerrymandering. And then finally, his opposition to vote by mail, because vote by mail can't be manipulated the way that precinct voting can be. And so every piece of this potential entrenchment is coming. So yes, Lindy, I am stunned time after time after time.
It just must be so strange. So Lindy and I grew up in Seattle. Obviously, we both spent a bunch of time in Portland and have a lot of affection for Portland. Maybe a little bit of sibling rivalry from time to time, whatever. But it's just like when you grow up in a city, like not a lot of stuff really phases you. So to me, it's just bizarre to hear about Portland and Seattle and Chicago and New York being talked about as these like cesspools of depravity or something, when it's just like, it's just people going to work. And I live in DC now, which is unique in a lot of ways, but that means it's a lot easier for Trump to send National Guard into not just the mall, but into our neighborhoods. I've seen ICE in my neighborhood. And it's just like nothing all that bad happens here. And yet, and I just think that like the silliness of the protest kind of counteracts that too, or like the whimsy of the protest counteracts this idea that our cities are demonic, like scary war zones or something. I guess my question is, I know you were one of the lead sponsors of the For the People Act five or so years ago, maybe a little bit, maybe 4. Time means nothing, Senator Merkley. And I just wonder if you look back on that and think, wow, that feels a little bit quaint. Like would those reforms that are in that bill be enough to battle back like what we're seeing now? Do you think that if it had passed, do you think we'd be in this mess? It's something that I worked on when I was at Indivisible, and I, to this day, have like nightmares that it didn't pass. And so I guess I'm just curious how you feel about it.
In the Senate, it was Senate Bill number 1. It was my bill. I threw my heart and soul into it, and it took on gerrymandering, though not as aggressively as I wanted. That was a House side problem. It took on dark money, and while it couldn't stop the dark money existing, it could make it so it wasn't dark. That is, you could know who was behind every dollar. And on the voting process, the voting registration process, the voting process itself, the counting of the ballots, all of that gained huge amounts of protection, including every person in America being guaranteed the ability to do early voting or vote by mail, which are 2 counter effects to the whole effort to manipulate Election Day. And Election Day is so easy to manipulate. You go into a community and you move the precinct, you put out false information, you put it where there's no parking, you put in machines that break down, you put in staff that screw things up, you put in a long line, you send intimidators, etc. I mean, it's so easy to suppress the vote on Election Day, which is why Trump hates vote by mail.
Right.
That bill would have made a huge difference. And we had a motion to go into a talking filibuster, in which case, yes, the minority could have slowed down the process of voting on it by speaking at length, and every senator could have spoken twice to the issue for as long as they wanted, but we could eventually have gotten to a vote. And that talking filibuster, which I've been advocating for since I came here, means obstruction is visible. It's done before the people. The argument's in front of the people. The people can weigh in. And there's an incentive to compromise because those who are obstructing have to do hard work, and the majority that needs to take care of business can't afford for the floor to be tied up for weeks and weeks. So either you can get to a compromise, or ultimately, if you can't, you can get to a vote. And of course, it still has to go through a chamber. It has to go through a presidential signature. So there's still other checks, but it gives the minority a voice, but not a veto. And on something as important, and we had Manchin and Sinema say they were defending the filibuster, but what they were doing was defending the version that takes no effort and therefore increases paralysis. So they every time I hear them say they're defending the filibuster, no, they were defending the worst version, which destroys public input and paralyzes the Senate.
Also, what a weird thing to defend as opposed to voting rights. But I think your staff is saying we're at about 20 minutes. Lindy, do you want to ask about trinkets or best friends? Oh, please, go ahead. We're going to end on something nice.
I have to choose between our 2 hardball questions?
Well, just ask them both, and if you stand up at least in the middle of it, we'll know.
I have 2 hardball questions to go out on. Don't try to weasel out. Question 1, Meagan and I are getting through this crisis by buying little trinkets and items to make ourselves happy. What's your favorite trinket/item that you keep on your desk? Question 2, who's the nicest person in the Senate? Who's your best friend?
Let's see. In terms of number one that I keep on my desk, I don't have, all I have is a University of Oregon cup, but I've been trying to acquire an Oregon State cup. Well,
Just to be fair.
Oregon State, if you're listening.
in honor of our last president, I also have.
Oh, some shades. Oh, that's good. That's so
My
cute.
wife and I over the Oregon coast.
Are those his actual shades or just an homage?
Homage.
An homage to Joe
Whatever
Biden's
homage
aviators.
means.
Yeah, I like that.
They are reminding me that we had a president that we could work with.
Yes.
But the other cup I sometimes have on my desk that I don't have today. Oh wait,
Jeff is currently searching
Is
for his
this-
second trinket.
and can you read what that says?
Never stop fighting for a better world. Oh, I love that. That's a good cup.
That is, that's my motto. I was asked at a TRIO event, where TRIO are the programs that help kids go from high school to college, who are first generation college students. And I was a first generation college student. It was very hard to go from a blue collar community I still live in, where I didn't know anything about college, to
Yeah.
college. And I know the stress I went through, and so I'm a big fan. And this person said, the student stood up at a national conference and said, well, do you have a motto? Or he said a mantra. And I said, well, I don't have a mantra, but I do have a motto. Keep fighting to build a better world. So
I love that.
that's-
Well, we're going to
beautiful.
try to do that too. Before you go, though, who is the nicest person in the Senate?
I think almost everybody would say one of our newest senators is the nicest. That's Peter Welch. He
Oh, yeah.
compliments everyone all
Yeah.
the time on everything. The man is just a walking bundle of niceness.
He is from Vermont and he has a very pleasant vibe. I think that sounds right to me. Yeah.
Well, let him know about Text Me Back podcast. We're trying to become the Joe Rogan of the left so that we can influence our next election if we have one.
We're going to start selling weird protein powders and stuff. Please don't try to regulate our new business. Senator Jeff Merkley, I kind of can't believe you came on our show, but thank you so much. This was really great.
So pleased to be with you.
Where can people find out more about what you're working on in the Senate?
Well, Merkley.Senate.gov is probably
Amazing.
the best place.
Okay, we'll
And, by the
bookmark
way, I
it.
have to tell you, Lindy,
Yeah.
I really love different ways that beams are built for buildings, and you have a very
Thank you. Yeah. So I live in a log cabin in rural Washington. So I'm up in the attic.
okay. That
it's a-
is very
which
love
which
that.
used to be unfinished and full of bats, and then now it's finished and beautiful. And it isn't it
It still
interesting?
has bats. Yeah.
It still has bats, but
Bats are a good thing, right?
Yeah.
They take care of
mosquitoes
some of
and
the
stuff?
mosquitoes.
They
And,
do.
Megan, you asked me about trinkets on my desk. What's with some of those weapons you have hanging on the wall?
Oh,
there?
so these are not, they're great question. So these are actually my husband's grandfather's candle snuffer collection.
Oh.
And one time, sorry, this is probably a brag, but one time I was on Chris Hayes and, do you remember the room rater guy would rate people's Zoom rooms when they appeared on cable TV?
Yeah.
I got
I've been rated in the past.
what did you get? What did you get?
I got a really good rate because I was at a cabin on the coast and I had
Nice.
all this wood and
Yeah,
pillars
you probably
kind
got
of,
a 10.
behind me, so I got lucky.
I also got a 10 out of 10 for the candle snuffers.
Okay.
So I'm feeling pretty good. That's a very good trinket. It's one of my
Well, I'm
favorites
glad
for
to
sure.
know what they are because they look like medieval torture.
They do. Yeah, they're really scary looking. Senator
both.
Merkley, thank you so
you.
much. I hope you have a great weekend and hopefully the government opens up soon.
Let's
So thank
save
you.
our republic and
Yes.
ring
Please.
the alarm bells.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Jeff,
that was Jeff.
thank you for joining us for our inaugural segment we're calling Jeff.
Megan, is Jeff our best friend?
think Jeff might be our best friend.
Meagan,
I feel like we learned so much.
I know. I loved Jeff.
I know.
When we were setting this up, Meagan said, I believe Jeff is known to be good-humored. And I said, great. He exceeded my expectations of his good humor. What a lovely man.
I thought for a second when he was talking about your beams, I thought he was going to be like, by the way, thanks for filming Shrill in Portland.
That's what I thought it was going to be too.
I would have never guessed in a million years he was going to be like, I love your attic. That was so amazing. I loved that.
Honestly, I liked that way. I was like, oh yeah, we could talk about, yeah, I mean,
I guess.
I mean, like, not that I don't.
Pump the economy of Oregon, big
I
whoop.
mean, it's just always fun to be asked something you haven't been asked before. And I feel like.
Yeah, that was really exciting.
I know. And he loved your medieval torture devices.
Torture snuffers. Nobody tell him what they actually are. That was really great.
Really good, I think.
Well, if you're a United States Senator, ideally named Jeff, let us know. And we'll have you on the show anytime.
I feel like Jeff wanted to stay. And talk
I do
more.
too.
Yeah.
I bet he has other meetings and he's like, meh. I'd rather be on Text Me Back podcast.
I bet Text Me Back podcast probably is more fun than his meetings.
than having a meeting about why the government is ruining everyone's lives. I don't want to go to that meeting either.
I know. And like, can you imagine being in charge of that?
No.
It's your job to save us.
I appreciate what he was saying, that like a lot of what's available to the minority just doesn't feel like enough. I appreciate that he acknowledged that people are angry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just from my experience, having worked on the For the People Act, it's true that there's only so much that the minority party can do, but he seems really committed to actually solving this problem when they get the chance. I think the issue is like, and this is not about Jeff specifically, obviously. Like I said, I think he's very dedicated to the project of rebuilding our democracy. That's pretty evident. But I think that, he mentioned cinema and Manchin. It's like, that's really the issue at the end of the day, is like, you need people in your party with the courage to actually do something major, even if it means losing your job.
Yeah.
There's no point in being a United States Senator if you do nothing because you're afraid you're going to lose your job.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I love that thing that Tim Walz thing that you brought up about.
I think about it constantly. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to say it?
Well, you brought it up and then I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. You mentioned this Tim Walz quote when we did our election show, whenever that was, 2 years ago?
5,000 years ago.
That the point of political capital is to spend it.
Right. The point of political capital is not to get it and hoard it.
Right.
It's to spend it. Like,
that's crazy.
You got voted in for a reason, and the reason is to spend the political capital that you earned. So it's not to just be like, I guess I'll just do nothing because I'm a baby. Yeah. And I think Merkley gets that. He's been a big champion for, at the very least, like reforming the filibuster, if not like outright getting rid of it. And that really was the reason why that bill didn't pass. It's really sad.
Meagan, why is it called? I'm confused because how come there's two different things that are called the filibuster? One is the filibuster, because when you say getting rid of the filibuster, that means the like super majority thing that you need. But how come filibuster also means talking and talking?
Well, it used to only mean that. It used to only mean talking and talking. But then they changed the rules. God, it's been so long since I've thought about the filibuster. I forget what year this happened, but relatively recently, like maybe in the 60s or 70s or something, the Senate was like, let's change the rule. Like, you can still block a bill, but we don't want to waste all this time talking because we want to go home. I don't want to be here. So now you don't have to talk. You can, but almost nobody does it unless they're trying to make a point, because it gets a lot of attention because it almost never happens. Senator Merkley mentioned this, but during the For the People Act thing, they did a talking filibuster that went on for I watched the whole thing. Yeah. It went on for hours and hours and hours. Everybody got a chance to talk. Raphael Warnock gave like one of the greatest Senate floor speeches I've ever seen. Made me cry. It did not move any Republicans, sadly. But normally, if you want to exercise your right to block a bill, you just send a note from your office. That's how they filibuster now.
Okay, here's my understanding now. Mm-hmm. That was very helpful. It's like replacing gold bars with paper money. It's like, look, we don't need to lug these gold. We just say that we did it.
Yeah, just pretend this paper is actually a gallon of gold.
A gallon of your feces.
Of your own feces. And then there's, I don't know if we really want to get into this, but there's the legislative filibuster, which still exists, to invoke cloture. So you're voting on permission to vote for the underlying bill. It's very boring.
Okay.
But once you get to the actual vote on the underlying bill, you only need a simple majority. You don't need 60.
Okay.
So the first vote is on cloture. That's like, do we have permission to vote on the underlying bill? And you need 60 people to say yes, which almost never happens because our country is diseased. So that's the legislative filibuster. They got rid of the filibuster. They nuked it for judicial nominees. So you don't need 60 votes to vote on a nominee.
Okay.
Anywhere. So,
well, that's good information. I have been wondering, because I feel like in like high school social studies or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I just was taught that filibuster means talking.
Yeah. It's the whole Mr. Smith goes to Washington business.
Yeah.
No, that used to be the case. Not anymore.
They should have it go back to that.
That's what Jeff wants. That's what he
Yeah.
wants. He thinks that if you're going to block some transformative piece of legislation, you should have to talk your ass off.
I agree.
For like all 60 hours of debate or whatever it is, 30 hours. I forget how many hours of debate there are.
Do they wear a diaper?
Well, I didn't want to ask. But so what happens is Cory Booker talked about this when he did his marathon speech. I forget how many hours it was, but he broke the record. He was timing his bathroom break. So what happens is that
you can have like your second or something.
Basically, yeah, like it's like a duel. No,
yeah.
But it's sort of like one Democrat will come down and be like, will the gentleman cede the floor for a question or whatever? And then Booker will be like, yes. And then he'll run to the bathroom and then run back. And then whoever it is taking like 2 minutes to ask a question.
Yeah.
And then Booker will come back and then regain control of the floor.
Nice.
Tricky little bathroom stuff.
Meagan, we should do a filibuster on this podcast.
Well, I think we did. And it was called a pledge drive and it went on for 5 days.
Yeah, but we took breaks. We should do 5 days continuous.
Yeah, in diapers.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you enjoyed hearing from Jeff. We're gonna take a break and talk for like 20 more minutes. And then I have to go do something for my day job.
No, ew.
Isn't that terrible? Yeah.
Yes. You know what I have to do, Meagan?
You have to cede the floor for a question so you can go to the bathroom. That's what your face looks like.
It's worse than that, Meagan. I have to drive to town and buy fly paper because my house is full of flies.
Ew. Nasty.
I'll tell you more about that after the break.
After the break. Welcome back to a segment we're calling Who Could Say?
We're
What was
calling
that thing that they used to call it on Jeopardy? Potpourri.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Was it
potpourri.
just potpourri? I thought there's no other word with it.
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, anyways, we're calling it potpourri.
We're calling it potpourri. The first potpourri is that I got flies in my house. I went to New York it was supposed to be less than 24 hours. It ended up being just over 24 hours because I missed my flight home due to my second terrible experience with a livery driver this calendar year.
Yeah, what the hell?
I mean, at least this guy was nice. He was just bewildered. I was in Midtown waiting for him to pick me up to go to the airport. And he was just like three blocks away waiting at the wrong place because he had just read the thing wrong. And he did not call me or text me or say, I'm here. So then I was just waiting. And then it's boring. So then I missed my flight. But when I got home last night, I walk into the house. There's got to be 50 flies. Because there's so many flies, which means that a mouse or a rat has died. And then you get what's called a fly bloom where they hatch and then they fill your house with flies. And it also indicates to me that something has died probably in the house behind a piece of furniture. I don't know. So I have to like maybe search for it. Anyway. So then last night at a certain point, I was fed up. I was like, I'm sick of these fucking flies. So
Get these motherfucking flies off my motherfucking plane.
Because it's disgusting, right? I would walk into the kitchen, all the flies would be startled off of every surface. Yeah, and then I'm like walking through a cloud of big fat flies in my own home. So
Gross.
first I got the fly swatter out. I tried swatting these flies. I'm terrible at it for some reason. I can't get a single one with the fly swatter. So then guess who's got a big brain? Me over here.
Am I supposed to guess? Okay.
I probably spent 2 hours, Megan.
Yes.
Holding the shop vac and individually sucking up flies one by one.
I see. Yes.
In my kitchen TV room. Then I go to bed, bedroom full of flies. I was like, what? And so then you know what I did, Megan?
Got a hotel?
I slept in the part of the house where the bats live. No flies in there.
Ha! Got him.
I got him.
Got his ass.
It is so nasty. And sucking up flies, live flies out of the air with the shop vac is not efficient, but it is very satisfying.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
So that's what I did this week. Thank you.
Great.
What's your potpourri, Megan?
Here's my potpourri. I thought of a new segment for the show, and I was so proud of myself too, because, of the two of us, I'm not known necessarily as the one who comes up with nonsensical micro segments.
Oh, is that true? Because
I'm not generally known for that.
I seem to remember a little.
I don't think it's a one-off. Does not count as
a little
being
segment
known.
Called Megan's Journey.
That's not being known for. That's called a one-off. Anyways, I was so proud of myself because there's something has been bothering me. There's a specific incident in popular culture that has been driving me insane for probably almost 20 years at this point. And I feel like nobody talks about it. And so I was like, dude, we should do a segment on the show called Something I Think About a Lot. And then I can talk about this thing that's been bothering me. And you and I were texting about it and laughing and laughing and laughing.
Yeah.
And
I said 10 out of 10 segment, Megs. I can't wait to get this on the air.
Great seg, babe. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to Google it really quick. And not only does it already exist at a website called The Cut, literally The Cut has or had a recurring segment called I Think About This a Lot. So not only does that already exist, they have one on the exact thing I want to talk about. And I said, what the fuck happened here? And honestly, thank God I Googled it because I was about to do a full plagiarism unknowingly on this show with this thing I want to talk about.
Yeah, it was so funny because you were texting me. You were like, I'm going to Google it to see if anyone solved this mystery that I always think about.
Yeah.
You Google the mystery. Not only has it been solved, but also your segment title has been stolen. And look, who knows what's going on these days with the technology?
With chronology.
Chronology.
Time.
I said, I'm sensing a little time crime. Someone listened to Text Me Back podcast next week. They went back in time. Someone who works for The Cut. They went back in time to 2011 or whenever this article is from.
Yeah.
And they wrote the article just to destabilize Text Me Back podcast because, you know what, I bet, speaking of time travel, I bet that in the future, Text Me Back podcast has an outsized culturally defining presence like Wild Stallions in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I'm just saying.
And it's something that they're saying more and more.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's what I think what happened. So we have an alternate title that I've stolen from. It's a different kind of stealing because it's a cultural phrase now.
It's a different kind of stealing. Yeah.
It's a different kind of stealing. It's something that the kids say that I think is so funny and probably it will be annoying soon. But the kids say, a case that never sat right with me. So here now is a first annual, that's a case that never sat right with me. And here's the case that never sat right with me. In 2008, Jamie Foxx, comedian, singer, actor, Oscar Award winner, I believe. made a song with T-Pain, who we've discussed on this show as probably the funniest guy, one of the funniest guys who's ever lived, and a beautiful, beautiful singing voice. Great guy, T-Pain. Love him. It's called Blame It on the Alcohol. Okay. And you think, oh, I bet there's a music video. And if I had to guess what the music video is going to be like, I bet it's like pretty classic, like Hype Williams of the era, saturated colors, probably a lot of fat ass going on. Also, if you're not familiar with the song, it bangs. It goes crazy. Blame it on the alcohol. It's so good. Jamie Foxx really put his whole foxussy in this song. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, the video comes out. Not with a million guesses would you guess who is in the opening shots of this video. I know you're thinking, I don't know, probably, I don't know, Diddy maybe?
Maybe like, if you were going to have a wacky cameo, maybe like Vern Troyer.
Yeah, maybe. Who could say, maybe a Barack Obama impersonator?
Great
or
stuff.
Something.
Great stuff. Yep.
Good guesses, dum-dum, but that's not who it is. Jamie Foxx pulls up to the club in like a Cadillac being driven by Jake Gyllenhaal. Okay. Jamie Foxx is sitting shotgun.
Yep.
And in the back seat of the car is Forrest Whitaker and Ron Howard. And all four of these guys get out of the car dramatically and very sensually, may I add. Ron Howard is a lot more lithe than you might think.
Ooh.
And they saunter into the club like four nasty little pimps. It's crazy. And then they're in the club. They're getting grinded upon. They're kissing women. I mean, like Ron Howard is not like making mouth-to-mouth contact with anyone, but somebody gives him a shot. Okay. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Is this?
It's a real mastery of randomness that you don't see a lot of. Like that was really the randomness era, the Amanda Bynes style kind of. What if it was random? Except most people don't have the random chops to come up with that foursome. It's like it's high level galaxy brain randomness, I think, or maybe it has meaning. I don't know.
I don't know either. But here's what I think: only Jamie Foxx could have assembled a crew of such import.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something that you said when I was first texting you about it is it's kind of giving unlikely animal friendships. Yeah. You know, it's like it's a cat and turtle who are best friends. And so maybe that's kind of scratching an itch in my brain somewhere. Yeah. It's like,
you love unlikely animal friendships.
A freaking capybara and a tiger. Hello, get into it. I love it. I can't get enough of it. But also it just feels like this is so crazy. This is all we should ever be talking about.
Yeah.
And yet no one ever mentions it. Does no one remember? Blame it on the alcohol?
It was the era of stunt cameos, but it really it would be like Mike Myers dressed as Barack Obama. Or you would have like,
well, remember when that 98 Degrees video and they were like, oh, I'm going to get married to my beautiful bride or whatever. And they pulled back the veil and it's Screech.
Exactly.
You remember that? Yeah.
That's the kind of, that's the hack kind of a random wacky cameo.
Yeah.
And this Jamie Foxx video is not that. It is sublime art.
Yes. And also it's not like so much a cameo as they were cast in the video. Right. You know what I mean? Like they're present for the whole thing. They were there on set all day drinking Hennessy with Jamie Foxx.
They're the video girls.
Yes.
You know, instead of, I mean, I'm sure there are also big booty girls, but.
Yes. To your point, I was like, do they know each other?
Yeah. Did you solve the mystery?
So that's how I found out that I plagiarized the segment. I Googled Jamie Foxx, Ron Howard, like how do Jamie Foxx and Ron Howard know each other? And the first result was this Cut article called I Think About This a Lot. Jamie Foxx's Blame It on the Alcohol music video. And I was like, what the fuck?
Did you read the article? Like,
no, because it's behind a paywall. I'm really sorry.
We still don't know if maybe the four of them were in a movie together, but we don't know. We'll never know.
No, who knows? if you have a The Cut membership,
can you tell us
what happened?
You're so stupid.
I know. I just am so depressed because I just thought, man, this is gonna be a killer segment.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a case that never sat right with me.
You don't think that you saw that cut?
No, there's no way.
There's no way.
Because I think about it every day.
Yeah.
And I think if I had seen that, I would have been like, finally, validation.
Right.
You know?
Instead, you've just been thinking about it.
I've just been thinking about it.
You know what I think about all the time similarly? Although it's not a mystery. It's just good stuff. That is a problematic fave that I'm not allowed to like anymore and really should never have liked. And it also involves a celebrity cameo, which is in Kanye's workout plan when Anna Nicole Smith rode a plane.
Rode a plane.
That song slaps, as they say. And yet it goes against my values. And
they say we can't listen to it anymore.
And we never should have. And yet.
So I was recently reminded of Pass the Courvoisier, which is Busta Rhymes and Pharrell. And it was playing at the gym. So I just heard like a snippet of it. And I was like, oh boy, does this song go crazy. I cannot wait to put this on my bangers playlist and listen to it all the time. Folks, Diddy is on that song. And I was like, God damn it.
I know.
Because Pass the Courvoisier is such a good song. And then the same thing happened when I was like, you know what song I haven't listened to in forever is Birthday Song by 2 Chainz, where he's like, when I die, bury me inside the Gucci stove. And he's like, all I want for my birthday is a big booty hoe. Such a good song and so classy as well. I somehow erased from my mind that 50% of that song is a Kanye feature. And I was like, no!
Man.
My favorite song.
Man. You know what you just reminded me of? Is that my very first job ever, other than like babysitting and whatever.
Yeah.
When I worked at the Victoria Clipper in Seattle, I worked in the office. I didn't get to go on the boat. In fact, I worked in a windowless, airless chamber. deep underground. And I was like bullied by the other teenagers that worked there because I was like a huge dork. And no one was nice to me. I ate lunch by myself every day. And they would like manipulate the time card so that I had to work like 14 days in a row. And they all, it was crazy. But anyway, one of my coworkers was named Courvoisier. And I just remembered about him.
Pass the Courvoisier. Everybody's singing now.
He was kind of nice to me.
I hope he's doing well.
If you're Courvoisier and you're listening, am I remembering this wrong? Was I a huge dork or did you guys like me? And
well, yeah, but that doesn't mean you're allowed to bully you.
But maybe they didn't. I am a classic only child professional victim. You know, I always think that people are excluding me and being mean to me, but I kind of think that they were. I don't know. Anyway,
it sounds like they probably were.
Courvoisier, if you're listening.
I feel like I always say, I guess we're going to take a break, but then I never know if it
Let's just end it.
So let's just end it.
Yeah.
Well, what a great episode.
I know.
We checked in with Jeff, our first Jeff.
I loved Jeff. I really did. I feel close to Jeff.
Yeah. Well, Oregon is so spiritually similar to where we're from. And we've spent many wonderful days in Portland over the years. I feel like a lot of our listeners do live in Oregon/Portland and just know that we're thinking of you. It's, oh God.
Yeah. What a time.
Just everything is so bad. So we hope you're hanging in there. And let us know if you think we really held Jeff's feet to the fire on our journalism podcast.
Yeah. And let us know if you think Jeff is telling the truth about who's the nicest in Congress, or is that guy he said, what if that guy he said is actually the meanest and Jeff is scared of him? And so that's why he had to say he was the nicest.
Peter Welch of Vermont is bullying and blackmailing Jeff Merkley of Oregon. He's like, tell that comedy podcast that I'm nice.
And if you are a senator and you would like to make your debut on the Joe Rogan of the Left podcast, parentheses Tech podcast, please get in touch. We're here. We're waiting.
And if you like what you hear, patreon.com/TextMeBackPod. Please subscribe.
We love you.
And the freaking tote bags are coming soon, we promise.
Yep.
We did not forget.
Nope.
We're in the manufacturing stage.
Yep.
So thank you for your patience.
Yep. And subscribe to Newsletter Me Back.
Oh, I always forget about her.
I always forget about her too, and I need to be
she's
writing
so
her
cute.
more.
Can I say something?
Please.
I love Newsletter Me Back because it's like I get to enjoy the podcast because I don't know what's going to be. I don't always know what's going to be in it. So it's like I get to be a fan of the show because I don't. I mean, I am a fan of the show, but I know what we talk about.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I feel the same way when you do the Instagram carousel and I get to read your captions because they're always really funny.
Fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's like, it's like a little surprise with my own show.
We
It's
should
so
each do a solo spin-off podcast that the other one can listen to.
No one would listen to that. Yeah, no, we're not even going to release it on an RSS feed. We're only going to release it to each other unless you join the Patreon at the $50,000 level, which we're calling Jeff.
If your name's Jeff and you'd like to be part of our
literally
a guest on Jeff !
Any Jeff, we would take any Jeff. Yeah.
And in conclusion, I'm going to write a Newsletter Me Back as soon as I get home from buying flypaper.
I'm going to go solve a problem with the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Equally
JK.
Equally important work.
2 equally important pieces of information. All right. Goodbye, angels. Mwah.